Okay, so this is just a quick video on doing a little bit of batch processing. Batch processing is when you do something to more than one image at a time. So I wanted to show you quickly how to change the names of files in Bridge, and either individually or as a group, and then also to batch process to resize and change the file format of a group of files if you need to. You may have to do it on some assignments, so there's a quick way to do that. If you have a lot of images, you want to change the size of them and change the settings, compression settings, you can do that. So here I have, I think I have like 21 images or so, and just a little group here. If you wanted to rename one image at a time, you can just click on the name inside a Bridge, and you can type whatever name you want in there, hit enter on your keyboard, and that's basically it. So there you go, that file's been renamed. Also, another thing to see real quick is that if you want to find where a file is, I'm going to undo that because I didn't want to change that name to that. If you want to see where a file is, you can right click and go to Reveal in Finder on the Mac, and it will be something similar on the PC, and it will open up a window that shows you where that file is in actuality. You can also kind of see it up at the top. You can see I'm in the test2 folder, so that's another way to see it. But what if I wanted to change the names of all these images? So what I'm going to do is do Command A or Control A to select them all. You can see they all appear in the preview. I'm in the Essentials view workspace, by the way. So there's Essentials. I did Command A or Control A to select all, and then here's all the images, or most of them. They're all in here in the content panel here. So now I can go up to the tools in the Bridge and say batch rename. So now I get this dialog box that lets me rename things. So I can say rename in the same folder, move to other folder. So I'm going to do that actually to show you how that works. There are some presets in here that you can save and make new presets, but I'm just going to do move to a new folder. I'm going to pick a new folder. I'm going to go on the desktop and create a new folder called renamed. And now they're going to be moved and renamed. This is what I'm going to put in. I'm going to put my name on them. Right now they just say test, I think. I'll put the date and when they were created, and I'll put it in that format. I can say add more text if I want. I'll say rename test, and then I can do a sequence number, and I'll start with number 3. So you could start with a different number if you want. So here's the current file name down here at the bottom. And just like when we imported, you could say preserve current file name in XMP, and it will preserve. I'll put all of them there, and it'll preserve the file name in the metadata for the file, the original file name. So here's the original file name, test images, and it has a date and a number. Here's the new one. It says Mark Garrett. Let's put a space between the date here. So anything I add here goes into this new file name. So now it says Mark Garrett, has the date, and then rename test, just to show you that you could add more text in there if you want. Maybe I'll put another underscore, and then there's the sequence number, and I started with number 3, and I can say how many digits I want. Maybe I only need 3 digits. All right, I'll leave it 4. And that's basically it. So I'm going to say rename, and now it moved all those files to my new folder, which was called rename, and there they are. And you can see they now have the new names. So that is renaming your files, and one at a time or as a batch. But what if I wanted to change all these files? Either resize them, change them to a new type of file, something like that. So I'm going to select them all again, Control A or Command A to select them all. Now I'm going to go to Tools and Photoshop. I'm in Bridge, but there's a list of Photoshop tools in Bridge, and I'm going to go to Image Processor.
Alright, I interrupt your video here. Sorry, Adobe changes things. They always change things, right? So this image processor command is now not in Bridge. It is in Photoshop. So if you go to Photoshop, go under File, and then Scripts, you'll find the same dialog box that we're going to go over right now, and it pretty much works the same. Alright, back to your video.
And what that does is takes me to Photoshop, and it also opens this image processor dialog. You can also do this from directly from Photoshop, but it's kind of easier in Bridge because you can see all the images at once. So you can do two things. You can, or a lot of things actually. We're going to save in the same location. Actually, let's do a new one again just to show you that. So I'm going to say select folder, and I'll make a new folder again called resized, because I'm going to resize these images. And click open. So now it's going to say it's going to go to a folder called resized. You can either save them as a JPEG, a PSD, which is a Photoshop document, a Photoshop file, or a TIFF. A TIFF is another file format that some of your cameras might shoot out of the camera, which is an uncompressed sort of file format. It's high quality, but it's very big. But it's kind of a universal format. It works in almost every type of image editor, and anything that deals with images can use a TIFF pretty much. PSD is a Photoshop file, which is kind of a standard format, and then JPEG is a standard format that's used on websites and everywhere. Most of your cameras are going to shoot JPEGs out of the box. So I'm going to say save as JPEG, but I'm going to also change the size of the images. So I want them to be only 1,000 pixels high or wide. So I'm going to say resize to fit, and I'm going to put 1,000 there and 1,000 here. So what that means is now these will all be resized so that they are a maximum of either 1,000 pixels wide or 1,000 pixels high. And I'm going to change the quality. That quality setting is a little bit low, so I'm going to change it to say 7 or 8, something like that. And this convert profile to sRGB, you might do that if you were going to put all these images on the web. We'll talk more, we'll read more about image profiles and color spaces later. But let's pretend we wanted to change it just for the heck of it. So I'm going to check that convert profile to sRGB, which would be for the web, something like that. So I changed the file type and the size and the compression settings there. Down at the end, there's you could also run an action if you wanted to, and there's a lot of actions left in here. What actions are, I'm not going to run one, but what actions are is sort of a recorded process that you do on an image. You'd have to set up the action in the actions palette inside of Photoshop ahead of time, but what you could do is you could have it do some specific thing. So an action, basically you turn on, you start recording an action, and you do some stuff to the image, and then you can play that, stop recording that action, then you can play that action back on one image or many images. Say you wanted to do a certain thing to all your images, apply a certain effect or something. You could save that as an action. So you can also put that into here if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that because I don't have an action that I want to run. And this last part, include ICC profile. That's a color profile for printing and device color management, things like that. So that's covered somewhere else, so you'll read about that somewhere else. But that's basically it. So I'm going to leave that the way it is, the settings that we just did. I'm going to click run, and it goes through, and you can see it runs really quickly. It's going to go through and open each of those images and resize them and change the compression, and at the end I will have a folder that has all those images in it, and they will all be at a different size than they were originally, whatever they were. So now if I look back in Bridge, here's my original folder, which was the renamed folder that we did earlier, and then here is the folder with the new JPEGs inside of them, and each one of those is less than, or 1,000 pixels or less. So this one is 750 by 1,000. It's a vertical. This one is 1,000 by 750. It was a horizontal. So they've all been resized and changed to JPEGs and have a certain compression to them, and that's it. They're all done. So I can do all that manually but why do it manually when you can do it with image processing? And that's it for image processing and batch renaming.